I use the word corrupt in the title, and this is the definition of corrupt within the Short Oxford English Dictionary, Volume 1, 1988, and it reads, of language, text, etc., destroyed, impurity, debased, vitiated by errors or alteration. Well, that's exactly what happened when I made a formal complaint to the police about the events of the 2nd of August 2021, and we are in a situation where the documentation and the reports, the first wording of the report to the police was, there is a man claiming to be a bailiff, but he does not believe he is. And as you can imagine, there is a lot of paperwork involved in this. From the moment the word bailiff has been used, the rest of this report is constantly referring to bailiff, not unidentified person claiming to be a bailiff. She has heard the word bailiff, and from that moment in time, on the 2nd of August 2021, without documented proof, without a bailiff certificate, without even speaking to the person claiming to be a bailiff, remember, they're unidentified, they have not followed the correct procedures, the police have decided this man is a bailiff. Is this rational? Is it protecting the peace? Is it preventing criminalisation? This man has entered property, making a claim, a false claim in this case, because he has no ID, refused to show any court paperwork, which he is required to do by law, is on the property and has been told to leave. But the police have decided this man's a bailiff, and he's above the law. So is that aiding and abetting crime? Or entering a person's property without the permission of the owner, and refusing to leave when the owner tells them to leave, is aggravated trespass. We now see the notes from this report have asked the informant to pass the phone to the bailiff. They refused to say or release the information, what they said to the bailiff, because as you are now getting the message, I, as the victim, was not allowed to know if the bailiff lied to the police, which he did because he had no court order or address with my address. So again, this is corruption, for there is no reason why I should not be allowed to know what they said to the bailiff. Under freedom of information, if I want this information, I need to go to a solicitor and incur costs to find out what they said to the bailiff and what the bailiff's response was. Is this acceptable, or is this corruption? I would say it's corruption. To speak back to the informant, due to hear him shouting at the bailiff in the background, I've advised him that informant that due to clearly being an escalation that is not being dealt with calmly, I have a thug, unidentified thug, on my property who refuses to ID himself correctly, refuses to show court orders, and he is or she is sending a person to prevent a breach of the peace. This thug refusing to leave for 80 minutes. 80 minutes. With no ID, no court paperwork, and I'm expected to act calmly? Is this really what the police expect of private individuals who have been invaded by an unidentified thug? No 7-day letter, no proof of ID, no court papers, such that if I have the court name and the court case number, I can go back to court. But no, absolutely nothing to assist me to prevent reoccurrence. And they're worried about breach of the peace when this thug is invading my home. How incredible is that? Right. Let's look at these final words. from the telephone operator. I have advised strongly for Mr. Allen not to engage and stay inside his property until officers arrive. Now, if a bailiff is complying with his legal requirements and not breaking the law, why would she have to strongly advise me not to engage and stay inside my property? That implies that she thinks that something untoward is going on. So I leave you to think on that during the next piece of paper. Now we look at the formal complaints procedure that went to District Judge Khan at Worcester County Court. The court is only concerned with the enforcement agent's fitness to hold a certificate, and much of this complaint refers to the company employing the agent. Their role is not relevant to this complaint. Well, we already know that the court never asked for the video, which meant that the actual proof of what occurred could not be proved. And then allegedly, according to the Information Commissioner's Office, the report was then deleted, or allegedly deleted. It probably still exists. But then we have to look at the role of the company in the agent's actions, because the company has already been found guilty by Master Dawson in 2018 for not having proof that the letter has been received by the address they've sent it to, which is a requirement of law. Because the judge said it is for the debt collection company to prove that the letter was received 70 days before they attend. Well, Fishwick claimed that the letter had been sent, and we never received it. We never signed for anything. So, was Fishwick under the false belief the letter had been sent, and he'd just been told the letter had been sent, so therefore, but it wasn't? Or was he aware that it's company practice that they do not send the letter? And if it's company practice they do not send the letter, then it is the duty of the agent, the enforcement agent's fitness. He should be asking his company for proof the letter has been sent before he actually leaves home. So what I would argue with Judge Khan, not that it's going to court, but I would argue and put the point to him that if the company is telling the agent that the 7-day letter is sent, but the agent is not receiving confirmation it was sent or received externally from their own company record, which has already been proved to be unreliable at best, as in the 2018 court case. So I ask, is the judge fully aware of the requirement? Because the role is very relevant. Because if the company is telling them their agents the letter has been sent and received, then they are being misled by the company in their role. Conversely, the agent should be asking for proof of receipt of that letter before he attempts to gain access. Either way, this section is a corruption of the situation. Going back to the police complaint, here we are where the unidentified thug, because remembering this was an event 3 weeks before the person had been correctly identified by DCBL, the police took no action against the bailiff. No, they took no action against the unidentified individual at your property. So, that's the first part. As you see here, regarding a bailiff attending your premises, again, pre-presumption and a failure to identify the fact that it was an unidentified individual attending your premises. Again, the courtator obtained details and spoke with the unidentified individual not a bailiff, because at this point she was making a presumption that it was a bailiff because she was already told he didn't have any ID with him and no court order. And, as correctly reported, shouting and the bailiff were in the background, heard shouting, and the bailiff and the officer was. So the English of this is very bad. You were heard in the background shouting, and the bailiff and an officer was deployed. No. Even the English in this sentence, the officer was deployed due the being a possible breach of the police, but on arrival the bailiff had left. The unidentified individual had left. The bailiff hadn't, because it hadn't been established categorically that he was a bailiff, and it still hasn't been categorically identified because we don't actually have a photograph of the person who claimed to be Fishwick, and we don't have a photograph of the person who attended my property. It may have been the same person, it may not. Now turn to incompetence. I.O. Pallet reviewed Surrey Police Niche Report was created as a result of your call. The occurrence was reviewed by Police Constable Gill from the Incident Review Team. He conducted checks and none of the vehicles were identified as belonging to bailiffs. PC Gill reviewed. So, is there two police officers, one named PC Gill and the other PC Gilson? Or is there utter incompetence by the person who gave me that compliment slip from Surrey Police that evening? Or is it the incompetence of the research officer? I'll leave you to decide. So there you have it. The corrupt bailiff operational system. The corruption of the police, their inability to even spell bailiff correctly in their notes. They're accepting a thug's word over the owner of the property. Failing to understand that it was 3 weeks before that bailiff was allegedly identified. Remembering we've still never seen a photograph of Craig Fishwick. So we don't even know if it was Craig Fishwick at my address. It could have been somebody using his name. Who cares? He's a bailiff. Tough on you, pensioner. You just got to tough it out. Well, wait. See what happens if they return. It won't be so simple next time.